Well, welcome along to the Sporting Life Timeform Weekend Best Bets. David Ord, delighted to be joined by Matt Brocklebank in the pink, Kieran Clark in the darker jersey. To look ahead to this weekend's action, we're looking at Ayr and Newbury. And the big race of the weekend, the big betting race, is the Virgin Bet Ayr Gold Cup. Always competitive, ultra competitive renewal as ever. We're going to start with the Timeform ratings on screen, Matt. And this is the sort of race where you get stuck into, you've got to find the bets. Is it the sort of contest that floats your boat?
Yes, it definitely is, Dave. It's extremely competitive. Not only that, but obviously throughout this season we've had one or two races that haven't filled. We've seen the Ayr Gold Cup, Silver Cup and the Bronze Cup have all held up, which is really good obviously for Ayr. Loads of good quality inform sprinters around and a couple of potential group horses in here as well, I reckon.
Kieran, we're starting at the top of the shop, Bielsa 124. He is a known quantity. We've got the video action of improving it last year. What sort of form does Bielsa arrive in this time around, and how confident are you that he deserves that place at the top of the Timeform ratings?
Yeah, you see him here. He's racing alone on the stand rail, and he does have a little bit to prove this year. He was last seen around about 7 weeks ago when finishing down the field at Chester. I do think this has been the plan. Kevin Ryan tends to target 1 or 2 at this race, and you see here he's on that near side rail, and he clings on for a win. He was quite well backed last year. He's only £1 higher this year. He ran in a listed race at Chester last time and there was only 7 runners. He is well suited to big field handicaps. The only thing I'm a bit worried about is he hangs right. He was against the rail last year, as we saw there, and then this year he's drawn a little bit more towards the centre, and I'm not quite sure he's in the same form as last year, but he'll be there or thereabouts. Very
rare you see a horse racing on his own, as Bielsa did there, coming out on top, and it's often a disadvantage in these races. Matt, we saw those Timeform ratings, a horse called Kanjar. He's only £1 below, 123p, the Rising Star, the Shadwell Silks, very sexy connections, very sexy profile. And what about this performance?
Yeah, this is the real eye catcher in the race, and like I say, a potential group horse. You've got to love the way he's won this day. As you can see, the turn of foot isn't immediate. Jim Crowley gives him a couple of cracks just to wake him up here, but he gradually goes through the gears, doesn't he? And that is kind of sort of the horse you're after for an Ayr Gold Cup. He's well on top at the finish. Not many horses get sent off 4 to 5 favourite in handicaps off a mark of 95. That's what he's done here. He's well lived up to the market's expectations. Overall, he's won 3 of his 6 starts, 3 out of 4 over 6 furlongs. So he's got loads going for him, open to any amount of improvement, as I say. 2 things that you would say perhaps against this horse. He's obviously very, very short in a hugely competitive 25 runner handicap. The other thing is that he carries a £5 penalty for that win, and the official handicapper says that he's gone up £5 for that win. So what they're saying is basically he's now on his correct mark. It's not like he's ahead of the handicapper like you see in some of these races. So a couple of things potentially to put off getting stuck in at skinny prices.
Kieran, is streetwise enough for you?
Yeah, I think he'll cope with it. The way he's won there, like Matt said, he's won with a little bit in hand, hasn't he? And you can never rule out a Haggis trade. Did he win this a couple of years ago over an unexposed?
Yeah. He's a potential group horse. You could see him even potentially in Group 1s next season, this horse. He's that much potential.
But you're never going to be missed in the market, are you? That's the only thing.
He certainly hasn't been. Now, the one thing that can be your downfall in this race, you'll be drawn on the wrong side, you can be... The pace might not be where you need it to be. So let's have a look at the pace map, the Timeform pace map on the screen. Matt, what's this telling you? How this race is going to be? Where is this race going to be won and lost? And where do you want your selections racing?
Good questions. It looks complex, doesn't it? And I think
hats off to Josh Brame, who's done this race. He's done a tremendous job to get us it all on one graphic.
Yeah, I think the underlying thing that we're always going to have to sort of have in mind here is that there's a lot of guesswork involved in these. You know, you could go talk about this race till the cows come home in terms of pace, where it's at. I like to just focus on maybe 1 or 2 real key pace horses, inform horses as well. I think that's really crucial, and Mr. Wagyu is going to be my key horse, I think, when it comes to pace. He's drawn in the centre in stall 15. Now, Ayr Gold Cup, you often think go low, go high, certainly when the ground's heavy or when the ground's really quick. We're looking at a middling sort of conditions, aren't we? Good to soft ground, maybe with a heavy dew up at Ayr. So I actually think we could be looking at them coming down the middle. It's not just Mr. Wagyu. He's backed up here by Bergerac in 8. Lucky Man, he's a pace horse, another progressive 3-year-old. He comes out of stall 13. Giza Sub as well. I'm going to mention him a little bit later, but he comes out of 14. I think those horses, as a collective, led by Mr. Wagyu, he won the race down the middle last year. He ended up 3rd overall, as we saw earlier on. I think he's a real key horse when it comes to this race.
Key trainers, we look at these races. Someone like Michael Dodds always springs to mind, Kieran. 3 runners this time around. What do you think's the pick of the Dodds trio?
Probably Comanche Falls. Looking at them, he's, you look at him and think he's the new Dakota Gold. He's actually the half brother. He goes into the stalls on his own. He's won back-to-back Stewards Cup for the first time since, was it just after the war? So you were probably around then.
I was doing the best bets video. It was being handed on at the time.
Yeah, he's in great form. He ran a cracker at York. One thing I got to mention with Bielsa, it's weird this season we've had Rohan win back-to-back Wokinghams. Comanche Falls did it in the Stewards Cup. If he could do it in the Ayr Gold Cup, that would be unprecedented. But back to Comanche Falls, yeah, the Yard are in good form. They've had 5 winners since the start of the week. He was only 7th in this last year, but he is £3 well in. He's definitely the best of the trio. Tinto has made a good start to the Yard. He has got 1 or 2 quirks. He's got a very good £7 claimer on him, Mark Wynne. He rode the winner at Pontefract yesterday. He's definitely value for his claim, but he's probably going to find this a little bit competitive, and the drawing 2 is probably not going to help. And Pendleton, named after the Queen of Cycling, he's probably going to find this a little bit too competitive. He's better off with some juice in the ground anyway. So of the 3, Comanche Falls would definitely be the best of the Dodds trio.
Matt, Kevin Ryan's the other trend. I'm going to talk to you about Bergerac, and not just you've got the sort of shirt that Charlie Hungerford used to wear in the
Very
series.
good, Dave.
Kids, ask your dad. But this is Bergerac in winning form now. Lots of people are sided with Bergerac here. Do you think this performance makes him a big player, and is he the pick of the Ryan horses?
He's another one in cracking form, Dave. He was really, really tough this day at York, because I think briefly he was headed. Now, whether he had an advantage racing hard to that far side, we're not quite sure. He's beaten King of Stars. He's not let the form down at all, running in listed and pattern races since. As you say, Kevin Ryan, he's won this race, the Ayr Gold Cup, 5 times. So this is an obvious contender here for Ryan, along with Bielsa. I'm drawn to a horse here that finishes in behind in the Gold Silks called Giza Sub. I'd put him up this day at York at a huge price. There was market support for him. He was coming back after a layoff. He had cheek pieces fitted. He's not well in. So for the race at York, he's been dropped a couple of pounds in the weight. So he obviously has to run off his old mark. But I think there's potential there. A little bit of wriggle room. He was a good 2-year-old. And just going back to that race at York, we didn't see it in the clip, but as soon as he came out of the stalls, he was whacked to the side. He took a real nudge from the horse next to him. I think that put him on the back foot. We've seen that loads of times at York. That is such a disadvantage over 5.5 furlongs. I think the slightly stiffer 6 here, and I think he could be one of those just ridden a little bit closer to the pace, alongside hopefully my key horse, Mr. Wagyu. So Giza Sub, he's a big price. He's around 33 to 1, but he'd be my outsider for the Ayr Gold Cup.
Give us an outsider. You've loads to aim at.
Volatile analyst. Hopefully not named after myself, but
I've seen you on a night out, it could be.
He finished down the field last year from a £3 lower mark, but Connections have put a hood on since then, and he's won 3 times in the 12 months following, including when just narrowly beating Diligent Harry in the Camage Trophy at Doncaster earlier in the season. Matt mentioned that pace is all drawn towards the middle. He's drawn in 16. Now, in his last 2 starts, he's faced 31 rivals and he's beat 3 of them, but he was in the middle of the track in the Wokingham, and last time at Retker there was only 5 runners. He's better off with I think he won the Coral Sprint at York last year, and he's better off with a real big field around him. He won off this mark on the all-weather in January. It's a standout 40 to 1 with 6-7 places available. It'd be a Scottish trained winner. The Connections have been flagship. They've had some flagship horses running in Scotland, haven't they? Straight line construction. So he'd be the one for me at a massive price. He's had a 6-week break. Yeah, why not 40 to 1?
Who are you backing, Dave?
5,000 to 1, although I might as well rip it up now because he's drawn low, and I've just seen having seen your draw coming down in the Arrowhead formation. I think his confidence will be restored by the win last time under Buick Masterclass. He ran quite well in it last year when one of the leading fancies. And Andrew Balding flying. We need to move on, chaps. We need to move on to the Mill Reef Stakes, the Bad Duty Free Mill Reef Stakes at Newbury. Always a really good 2-year-old contest. Let's get the ratings up. It's probably not the strongest renewal we've ever seen, but it's going to still take some winning. Richard Hannon got a strong hand. Kieran, top rated even. It should have been a Ring, who's thriving at the minute.
Yeah, you can argue that he should be called, should have been the favourite really. He's been nothing but improving since he made his debut when 4th behind Rocket Rodney. He's won all 3 starts since. It was interesting when he won the big sales race at York. I was just around the side of the paddock that day, and as Sean Levy was coming back in, he said to the lad leading it in, "I'm surprised that the way this works at home. I'm surprised he didn't travel very well, because we've always thought a lot of him." And he went to Ripon and won a listed race. He beat a good horse in Bolt Action, and it was interesting. After the race, Connections said he won despite the track. So he's won twice at Ripon, which suggests a flat track like Newbury should really suit him. It comes down to form over potential, doesn't it? He's got some rock solid form in the book, whereas Sakia's the more sexier profile, having bolted up last time. he really tries, and I think 9 to 4, I'd definitely be having a few quid on him at that price.
Roger Varian clearly got a strong hand. Sakir and Sharon in there. Thoughts on that pair?
Yeah, Sakir, real connections at the moment, as you say. Varian, David Egan, these owners. He'd looked promising at Windsor. He built on it last time at Haydock. Very impressive winner. Whether he was flattered a little bit, he got quite an easy lead down by the stands rail. I don't know if he was flattered, but he was 1 to 2 that day, and he won well enough. The other one, Sharon. I thought Ray Dawson might want that ride back again if he could at Newmarket. He just held on to the horse so for a long, long time. Quite confident. Endearing got first run on him. I think he's probably valued for a little bit more. So of the pair, I'd probably be with the sort of the grey horse, Sharon. He's a nice big type, isn't he?
Yeah, I was actually at Haydock when he made his winning debut, and he's definitely a horse that will improve for next year as well. He's a big strapping sort. So yeah, whatever he does tomorrow, he maybe wants to keep on side nonetheless.
I've got outsiders to note as a question. I can get rid of the S because it's an outsider because you both come up with the same one. Matt, I'll let you explain why.
Yeah, the horse is Wallop, so Richard Hannon's second string on paper. He's had just the one start, and he's had 50 days off since as well, so perhaps not the easiest horse to train. We're reading between the lines there, but we don't know. He showed up very well. He was 11 to 1 at Newmarket. This was in a good race, won by Noble Style. Subsequently won the Gimcrack. You'd have to say Noble Style's one of the better 2-year-olds around anywhere. So for Wallop to do that, first day at school, I think if he's gone the right way at home between then, I think he could give these favourites a run for the money.
Now, spoiler alert, you might have seen these on the bottom of the screen on our fantastic new graphics earlier, but it's time for our weekend best bet. I'll go first. If you're still going by the 550 at Catterick, A, congratulations, and B, back I knee for Tim Easterby, who's never been out the first 3 in 6 starts at Catterick. You can forgive his disappointing run last time. It was 3 days after a good run at Catterick. Came too soon, freshened up since. Easterby's always seemed to have a winner at Catterick, and I think it's going to be I knee in the 550 on Saturday. Matt, Saturday best bet?
Yeah, 3.25 Newbury, 1 for the gutter, I think is going to be the value bet in this race. Yeah, for Ian Williams, he won first time out, believe it or not. He was the first ever winning 2-year-old newcomer for Ian Williams last summer.
There's a stat.
He's not won since, but he shaped quite well at York last time out.
And Kieran, you don't think he's going to win again on Saturday because your best bet's in the same race?
Well, he's a nice each way price, so hopefully he finished second, Matt, because I've gone for the sexy horse in this. Warren Point, he's 3 from 4. Godolphin, 3-pronged attack at the head of the market. He's the one for me. He found loads when winning at Goodwood. I thought at the time that form was very strong. Like a lot of the time, I couldn't have got it more wrong. It hasn't really worked out, but he could be a group horse in a handicap. The Connections actually spoke of the Voltager after last time, so they obviously hold him in quite high regard. He's maturing with each start. I think the long straight will really suit him, and 3-year-olds have actually won the last 2 renewals, so that bodes well for both of our selections, Matt. So I'd say maybe a cheeky forecast in the offing as well.
Well, there you go. There's a bombshell. We've got an exacta in the Newbury handicap and potential trifecta for you there in the Ayr Gold Cup as well. Thanks to Kieran. Thanks to Matt. It's a fantastic and competitive day's racing. Looking forward to watching it all. Don't forget to follow it on sportinglife.com and Timeform for all the top data looking ahead to the big race action.